Can you tell me what it is that a can of Labatt Blue Light and this high cigarette flavored vape, whatever the flavor is, have in common? Because looking at these two things, it doesn't seem like much. This is a vape. It's peach lemonade flavored, cherry peach lemonade flavored, and this is Labatt Blue Light. Tastes like beer, imported light beer from Canada. This is a liquid. This is a vapor. The mode of consumption is very different. You inhale this, you drink this. So what is it that makes these two things similar? Or rather, what is it that makes the cigarettes, a Marb cigarette, similar to this, what is this? Cake, sour apple, she hits different dab pen. What is it that makes these two things similar? Or rather, what is it that each of these items all have in common? Because they look different from one another. They taste different from one another. They have slightly different impacts physically and psychologically when consumed than one another. So what is it that makes each of these things similar? Because they all have one very important thing in common. And that important thing is that very much like this cigarette, each of these things are lifeless objects. They don't have the ability to manipulate. They don't have the ability to persuade. They don't have the ability to coerce a person. These are all lifeless, 100% powerless objects. That's all they are. Substances, objects, whatever it is you want to call them. So how is it then that we wind up in a situation, and I say this as someone who deeply struggled with addiction for 9+ years of my life to nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, all things that this channel is dedicated to helping people quit. How is it then that people can fall such victim to each of these things? Nicotine, alcohol, cigarettes, vapes, cannabis, adult media. Because this vape, it can't make me take a hit, right? This cigarette can't force me to pick up a lighter and choose to light it. This drink isn't going to open itself. It would need my assistance. It would need my effort to do so. And that effort would only be preceded by my choice to do so. Each of these items, they have maybe a few things in common. They can be used socially. They certainly have addiction potential. They initially will stimulate dopamine, but when abused, they'll actually decrease dopamine presence in the brain. Outside of that, they got one major thing. They are all lifeless objects. They're completely lifeless, and they are powerless. And the ironic thing is, if you've been around addiction recovery long enough, you've probably heard the phrase, oh, I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm powerless over nicotine. I'm powerless over cannabis. But you're actually not. These items have no power, no control, no influence on you unless you allow them to. Without you, without my ability to physically open up this beer, to physically light this cigarette, to make the conscious decision to charge and then hit this dab pen, these items are nothing. They're nothing. And it's coming to understand this, coming to understand that when you're quitting a substance, it's actually you versus you. Once you can really lock in on that, quitting becomes a lot easier because this puts the power of decision and choice back into your hands. You are a rational human being who makes rational decisions about their life probably every 30 seconds of the day. Every second you're deciding to not do or to do something. And the idea that you've gotten this far in life and that you're incapable of deciding or choosing not to do this, not to open this, not to hit this, to something that, again, can't manipulate you, can't persuade you, can't talk you into it, something that is truly just a lifeless object. The idea that that somehow controls you, the idea that that somehow has hijacked your brain without any significant level of hypnosis, or deceit, or, right? The last time I checked, Labatt Blue Light, a can of Labatt Blue Light doesn't have experienced training in psychology and knowledge of human psychology, right? Without you making the decision to choose these things, they're nothing. And this is where we start to see quitting become a lot easier than we once thought it was before, when we start to take responsibility for the choice and the decision that we're making. See, I think a lot of times there's this phrase, I think it's from AA, I don't know for sure, but it's like, oh, there's my addiction doing push-ups in the parking lot or whatever. What are we talking about? It's nothing. The addiction is a voice in your head, one of my favorite books, Rational Recovery by Jack Trimpey. And you have the ability to identify that voice and tell it to screw off. That's what the addiction is. It's you versus you. And this goes to everyday life, right? I'm going to wake up when my alarm goes off. I'm not going to wake up. I'm going to work out today. I'm not going to work out. I'm going to eat the junk food. I'm not going to eat the junk food. I'm going to save and invest my money. I'm not going to save and invest my money. I'm going to go to work today. I'm not going to go to work today. It's you versus you. You do this all day long, and you've done it successfully in so many areas of your life. So don't think for 1 second that you can't do it successfully in this area of your life. I understand a toxic relationship where a person has been psychologically manipulated into something by someone who is a narcissist or someone who's really, really good at manipulation. I understand how entire cultures have been influenced by other people because they're so good at manipulating, so good at persuading. But when you think about it, really, this is nothing. This has nothing. This has no ability like that. Now, what happens then? How do people fall into this trap? Well, one, it's rhetoric that we hear all the time. You're powerless over your addiction. That's simply not true. These things are powerless without your decision to choose to use them. These things are powerless without you. They are powerless. I can tell you that. Okay? And two, we do in some instances see human influence, okay? Maybe there's a scenario where you're facing peer pressure at a bar to have a drink, or you're with a group of friends. Maybe you're signed up for an email list from your local dispensary, from your recreational store, or whatever. Maybe you follow influencers who drink heavily or smoke cigarettes or vape a lot, whatever it may be. So there can be human influence that has a level of persuasion when it comes to the decisions that we make. But at the end of the day, even that influence is only dictated by the amount of attention that you give it, right? So I could be in a bar not drinking alcohol, at a restaurant not drinking alcohol, and everyone could be drinking around me because I give no attention to everyone else drinking. It doesn't impact me. I don't care to drink. I can sit here at my desk with things that at one point in my life I consumed each of and have zero urge to have any of it because I know each of these things are powerless without my decision to choose to consume them. And then how much power they have is all dependent upon how much more I choose to consume or not consume or whatever it may be. So I think quitting a substance starts with this. Do you really want to be manipulated by something that breaks, like that you can literally tear in half? Do you really want to be manipulated by something that I could open up and dump down the drain? Do you really want to be manipulated by these dumb electronic devices that could simply be thrown in the garbage can or properly disposed of? That's a whole nother thing, though, when it comes to these lithium-ion batteries and these things, or properly disposed of them. Do you really want to be influenced by that? Because if that's controlling you, I think eventually life is going to get very hard. Not just because of the substance use, not because of addiction and the consequences of addiction, because it's you versus you every day. And if you can't control yourself with all the other things out there in the world trying to control us, all the other stuff trying to influence us, I think at one point or another you might find yourself kind of screwed. So if you enjoyed today's video, If you find this helpful, this reframing of the mindset helpful, be sure to check out the pinned comment in the video description for free and paid resources to help you on your quit. Or just follow me right into the next playlist about quitting either nicotine or weed. You choose. I'll see you next time.